welcome back to my channel. I'm Rachel, the owner and creator here at the Eclectic Cottage in Spokane, Washington. Today is Saturday, and for today's video, I have a furniture flip for you guys. It isn't the biggest piece of furniture in the entire world, but it was definitely a fun little project, and I enjoyed getting it finished and ready to go out onto the floor. I love how it came together. I hope you guys do too, and without further ado, let's get to today's project. My project for today is this cloverleaf shaped table that I picked up at the Goodwill a while back. Now you can see it had flowers on it, but this thing was from China. It's a newer cloverleaf table. It's MDF. The flowers I thought at first were inlay, but they are just kind of a papery substrate that they glued on top of the MDF. So they're nothing I was willing to try and save. So I just went ahead and started by giving this thing a really good cleaning, and I am going to be painting the entire thing. I'm not going to paint the bottoms of each section though, mainly because of the little screws that hold everything together. I didn't want to gum those all up, and I thought I could get pretty decently clean lines just by painting the wood portions and the fronts of everything. So I opted again not to paint the bottoms of the shelves. So just giving it a really good cleaning with some Krud Kutter first, like I always do, and then rinsing it with some clean water. And then once I was done with that, I decided since this surface was so slippery and a little uneven, I would go ahead and do just a touch of sanding to prep this. So I'm going in with some 220 grit sandpaper and just kind of going along the edges and smoothing those out a little bit, and then just scuffing the tops just to make sure that my paint sticks really, really well. Then I wiped it clean again, and before I started painting, I grabbed my can of shellac, and anywhere the MDF was showing through the finish, I went ahead and sealed it up with my shellac. I didn't want to take any chances that my paint would make the MDF underneath bubble, so I figured this was a good way to prevent that. Now for this project, it took me a little bit to figure out what color of paint I wanted it to be, and honestly, which line of paint I wanted to use. I ended up going with Sweet Pickins Milk Paint, and this color is called Proper. Now I chose Proper because I felt like the style of this table really cried out for something relatively neutral. And I already have black and cream and blues and greens in my shop now. So I wanted something just a little bit different. So I went with this color. And of course, some of the things I love about Sweet Pickins Milk Paint is that it dries relatively smooth with no brush strokes, and it is very easy to apply transfers to, and I knew I was going to put some transfers on this table. Now I ended up giving this little table 3 coats of the milk paint. The legs needed the 3rd coat just because there were still a couple of shadows of that black kind of shining through. The top and bottom shelf probably didn't need the 3rd coat, but I had mixed up too much milk paint and I felt like I might as well use it since I have it. So I went ahead and put that 3rd coat on those shelves as well. Now, while milk paint does self-level, so there aren't any brush strokes, you can have little chunks left in your paint that look something like this. And I like a nice smooth surface. So I took this outside and used this hand sander. It's got some really old 220 grit sandpaper in it. And I just smoothed out the top and the bottom shelf with that. Then I took a little piece of 220 that I've had for a while and very, very carefully went over the legs as well, just to knock any chunks off. I didn't want to do any distressing at all on this piece. So I was very careful to not go down into the paint as much as I possibly could. And in any areas that I did, I actually took a little brush and went back over them with a little bit more of that paint. Now, as you can see from this picture, after I'd sanded and cleaned off the tables, there was a little bit of a shadow of the flowers that were painted on it, kind of coming up through my paint. I ended up taking it back outside and spraying both the top and the bottom shelf with shellac, and then putting another coat of paint over that, which seemed to really help. Then I brought it back inside and started getting ready to place my transfers down. Now for this table, I decided to go with this beautiful set by Redesign with Prima. This one's called White Magnolia. And while it is not a new set by any stretch, it is new to me. I've never actually used this one. I've not ever had it in the shop. So I brought it in just recently, just for something a little bit different than roses. And so I decided to put this on this beautiful table. So I started by arranging my transfers, kind of getting a feel for where I wanted every one of them to go. And once I figured that out, I went ahead and applied my first one, and then I just worked my way around the table from there. And of course, applying these transfers is a breeze over the milk paint. I just figure out where I want them. I peel off that backer strip, lay them down, just kind of rub my hand over them to make sure they're placed where I want them, and then use the transfer stick to rub them down into my piece while I peel back that piece of vellum. It's a very simple process. And one of the great things about transfers is you can layer them one on top of the other, and the top one will cover the one below it. So you want to start with your bottom pieces first, and once you get those figured out, lay them down and then work your way up from there. You can see I kind of did that with these two little pieces, tucking them under the big one so that I knew that their stems would be covered. And then I just folded over the backer paper and put a piece of them down, and then peeled off the rest of that backing, and then just went ahead and applied as normal. And then once I have my little pieces, I'm just going to seat that piece of that larger piece of transfer over them, making sure that I'm covering up their stems, and then just rub that down as usual. Once I had all my transfers applied, and I did go ahead and put one on the bottom shelf as well, just so that it would match a bit better with the top, it was time to seal my paint. Now, normally my go-to for the milk paint is their oil wax, but in this case, I wanted to have some control over the dark wax rather than just put a whole coat of dark oil wax on this piece. So instead of using the oil wax, I went ahead with my most favorite sealer, and that is DIY's clear wax to start. And so I'm just using my soft bristle brush to apply a nice thin even layer all over the piece, and then wiping off the excess with my dry shop towel. Once I was finished with the clear wax, it was time to get out the dark wax. Now, the main reason I wanted to use dark wax on this piece was to really enhance the little metal details at the base of all of the legs. So I'm using a pretty good coat of the dark wax on these, and then wiping back the excess very lightly to make sure that I leave some of that dark wax in all the details so that these really stand out against the lighter color of the leg itself. Now, the nice thing about the milk paint is it really doesn't soak up the dark wax, and especially with that layer of clear down first, the dark wax basically just adds a little bit of patina to the entire piece. So you can see here, I did go ahead and go over the rest of the paint with that dark wax. However, I thinned it down just a little bit with some mineral spirits, so it went on more like a glaze. So you can see there, it's just pretty thin. And to do that, I just dip my bristles of my brush in the mineral spirits, and then I dab that into the dark wax, and then apply it to my piece. I also wanted to enhance this little router detail that went around the top edge of my table. So I put a pretty thick coat of the wax on it and then was careful when I rubbed it off to make sure not to rub too hard so that some of that wax would stay in that detail to really make it stand out. Then again, I thinned out the wax for the top of the table, gave it a good coat of the glaze, I guess you could call it as well, wiped that back, and then this little table is finished. In the end, I absolutely love how this little table came out. I think the neutral palette would be perfect for just about any decor. I really hope you guys like it as much as I do. That's it from here for today, you guys. I hope you liked my little end table makeover, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up. I so appreciate that. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and then just hit the little notification bell so you don't miss anything. And then don't forget to drop a comment below and let me know what you thought of today's project. Just a quick reminder too, any of the paint and products you see me use can be purchased through me at my website, and that's www.theeclecticcottagespokane.com. It's listed below in the description box as well. I carry DIY paint and products as well as Sweet Pickins Milk Paint and products, some Recycled Treasures decoupage papers, and of course some Redesign with Prima. So check those out there. Let's see, today is Saturday. It's for me, actually, it's Friday, you guys. I'm trying to get this video done because we're heading up to the lake tonight and we don't have any service up there, so I can't upload a video from the lake. So anyway, for, let's see, Wednesday's video, I've already got a couple projects in the works, so I'm hoping to have a thrift flip for you guys for that video. I hope you'll join me back here on Wednesday for that. Until then, have a fantastic Memorial Day weekend, you guys. Hopefully we're going to have some fun. It's actually supposed to be decent weather this year, hopefully. So fingers crossed. Anyway, and I will see you guys back here on Wednesday. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. Bye.